This weekend, we'll see the season's first update packages. All but a few teams intend to provide parts. Ferrari, Alpine, Racing Bulls, Red Bull, Mercedes, and Williams are all expected to provide upgrades. But we're not expecting big things, as the first round of big upgrades will be seen at Imola. Still, there is plenty to discuss. Here are the upgrades expected to debut in Japan. Red Bull continues to dominate F1 news headlines with their fast start to 2024. However, the defending champions have more in store. Adrian Newey and his technical staff, on the other hand, are only getting more efficient as they try to stay ahead of their competitors. Probably most shocking was that Adrian Newey and Pierre Wache's newest challenger had some components from the abandoned W14 idea. Given that Mercedes dismissed technical director Mike Elliott for his ultimately unsuccessful development strategy, this was a significant surprise. In a startling twist of irony, further Mercedes-style upgrades are likely. During the winter break, Helmut Marko confirmed expectations that significant changes will be presented during the Japanese Grand Prix. Suzuka, now the fourth race of the calendar, might see Red Bull adopt sidepods reminiscent of Mercedes' controversial Zeropod idea. Although sidepods are not the most important contributors to performance in current F1, they are clearly noticeable. As a result, it would send a strong statement if Red Bull took another step ahead by implementing some of the concepts initially imagined in Brackley. Helmut Marko has lately suggested that new parts are also on the way for Imola, according to Amos. This would imply the implementation of two significant packages barely 1/3 into the 2024 campaign. But Max Verstappen remained evasive when questioned about Red Bull's Japanese Grand Prix upgrades, amid suggestions that Suzuka might see the team adopt sidepods similar to Mercedes' famed Zeropods. Many in the paddock were surprised when the reigning world champions chose not to continue with their RB19 concept and instead shifted to a more Mercedes-esque look with this year's RB20. However, it was rumoured back in February that this was only the beginning of the transition, adopting the engine cover utilised but ditched by Mercedes in the first 2 years of the ground effect aerodynamic period. F1 fans and commentators were even more shocked when Red Bull's 2024 challenger, the RB20, had sidepods that bore some similarities to Mercedes' failed Zeropod proposal. Surprisingly, almost immediately after the RB20's unveiling, it was alleged that Red Bull is planning to go much farther in reproducing the Zeropod, leaning more towards Mercedes' dropped idea than the original RB20's design. Japan was billed as the inaugural race for Red Bull's all-in Zeropod concept. As F1 moves to Japan in early April, stated Autosport, where temperatures will drop and cooling will be less marginal, the RB20 will be upgraded to a design reminiscent of the Mercedes size Zero sidepod. But don't ask Verstappen for confirmation or information on the upgrades. Well, I mean the colour will be the same, he said before adding, "You will see." While the consequences of these upgrades are hard to foresee, the reports are concerning. But Red Bull has every intention of dominating the competition at Suzuka. So, if we can expect a minor to big upgrade to the RB20, what can we expect for the other teams, like their biggest competitor, Ferrari? And what are you expecting from Red Bull? Will they dominate in Japan again? Ferrari does not plan to be stay behind in development, as a small aerodynamic development is planned for the Japanese Grand Prix in preparation for the major aerodynamic package for the Imola weekend in Italy. The SF24 will see major alterations at the Imola circuit, including more radical sidepods and thinner radiator components. Back in Maranello, attempts have been made to speed up the introduction of a redesigned underfloor for the Japanese Grand Prix. It may not be completely new, but it may modify certain aspects of it, since this critical performance element is now constructed in a modular rather than monolithic fashion, allowing for mid-season interventions based on wind tunnel work and quickening development. According to rumours in the Italian media, we may see something new in the middle section in Japan. The development of a whole underfloor requires a long and exact timeline, although intervention on a portion of it is undoubtedly more doable due to its small scope. The Ferrari racing department will strive to expedite plans to equip Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz with an additional tool to keep the pressure on Red Bull at Suzuka. Will this new middle part be enough to beat Red Bull again? We'll find out soon enough. Either way, they aren't the only ones who are introducing a floor upgrade in Japan, as the Racing Bulls are also ready to finally be a weekly point contender. And after early signs of progress for the RB were shown at Albert Park. Suzuka will be a critical test for every team due to its technical and setup requirements, but also an opportunity for RB to show they're on the right track. Technical Director Jody Egginton notes that the V-carb has already made progress following its initial challenges. The car's mechanical profile has undergone major alterations in less than a year. Daniel's weekend wasn't easy. However, he kept his head down and worked very hard together with his engineers to make the car closer to his tastes. Even if the result doesn't show it, there are some good signs of progress. Honda and Yuki Tsunoda's home race will feature a new floor improvement for the RB. The revised specification will be a first step towards making the car less dependent on the outdated AT04. The second stage of RB is for Imola to address the surface and improve the V-carb 01 starting concept. The Anglo-Italian car remains quite similar to the AT04 from Abu Dhabi last year. The technical director of the Faenza team also stated himself on this matter. I expect that we will be able to start taking advantage of the upcoming events with the aim of entering the battle in the middle of the field as soon as possible. We can't wait for the next phase of the season. The group in the center is very small. We will focus on making every update count. Another team that has fallen to the middle of the grid but is working hard to get back to the top like last year is Aston Martin, but this was expected for the team. As team boss Mike Crack has previously cautioned that Aston Martin will not start as strongly as the previous year, but that the British squad intends to grow over the season. That began immediately following the season opener in Bahrain, the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, when Aston Martin introduced a new rear wing. A redesigned front wing was fitted in Australia. According to the reliable automotor UND Sport, Aston Martin is taking additional new parts to Japan to improve the car's balance and minimize tyre wear. The team already appears to have a strong knowledge of the AMR24's limitations, and another substantial upgrade package is apparently in the works for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in Imola. Aston Martin expects to overtake McLaren and Mercedes and get closer to Red Bull and Ferrari in a month and a half. These are some of the biggest upgrades we're expecting to see this upcoming weekend. And now you might be wondering, I haven't heard anything about Mercedes or McLaren. And that is true. Mercedes seems to be busy understanding what is wrong with their W15 design before they're deciding where to upgrade the car. And for McLaren, we are expecting to see the first upgrades in a couple of Grand Prix time. The Woking squad began 2024 about where it ended, chasing Mercedes for third place. But Ferrari's enormous race speed gains are keeping the Scuderia out of reach. McLaren's 2024 challenger, the MCL38, has carried over the key shortcomings of its predecessor, with the team hoping to launch a first improvement package around the Miami or Imola races in May. However, team chief Stella emphasized that properly resolving its weaknesses, including as long corner performance and a lack of DRS efficiency, which reduces maximum speeds, will most likely require another 12 months of research. We are extremely happy with the rate of development over the last 12 months, but there's, I would say, another 12 months development that we need to go through to actually offer a car that is strong in DRS and is strong in the long corners, he said. Around race 6 or 7 we should have a decent round of upgrades, and hopefully there will be potentially a couple of them throughout the season. It will take the whole season to actually add enough performance and say we don't see these weaknesses anymore because these areas have improved. Stella does not believe McLaren's failure to eliminate its shortcomings indicates anything going wrong at the plant, nor is it surprising. However, he said that it is due to the time required to grow and improve performance in all areas, with teams needing to pick and select their initiatives wisely within the budget constraints. Erasing the weaknesses is car development, he said. It's not like you have these weaknesses because something goes wrong. There's nothing going wrong. The car is not developed enough and these aspects expose themselves, like you become weak in long corners or you don't have enough speed in DRS. But this is effectively a consequence of the development. If you ask me how is the car behaving, I say very well, like it goes as expected. It does exactly what we expect from the wind tunnel. It does what we expect from the computer development. It will be interesting to see what upgrades the teams will be able to create in the upcoming weeks. Which upgrades are you expecting the most from? Let us know in the comments down below.